I'm Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard, and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even a basic type of technology, you'll learn it all.
And people are
Good question. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Marilyn Hemingway. Hey, Brandon, how are you? We're live. Look, Donald's the only one that's stationary. Brandon and I are in cars.
Yeah.
I know. Look, I'll be there in about 10 minutes. I'm going to get back in front of my computer. But Brandon, I'm traveling a little bit too. So good. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're good. You're looking good. You're looking good in your blue.
Thank you. I had to do something different for the people today. I'm out in the community.
Wonderful.
So when I get home, hopefully in front of my computer, the quality will improve, folks. But Donald Gilliard with Sweet Consulting is with us today, and Brandon Upson with Amplify Action is with us today also. Today we're going to be talking about politics, what's going on in Texas with the electric grid. It's very political. We're going to be talking about what's going on with Georgia with voter suppression laws that they're trying to pass. And anything else with politics that we need to talk about so that we come from a place of knowledge. We're here to help our community. So Brandon, Donald, let's start with Donald. Donald, any thoughts about what's going on in Texas with the politics of the electric grid?
Well, to be honest with you, Marilyn, I'm not as breast knowledgeable about that issue as it should be. I will say, however, that any type of calamity or major disaster that happens, it seems to always have a disproportionate impact on African American community, and that's concerning to me. That's what it is. When you had Katrina and all of the other natural disasters, it affects us because our people are the ones that are living on the margins of life, can't afford to just one paycheck, and live in areas that's affected by climate change and that sort of thing. So if it's a problem and it's bad, it affects our community. So, I'm just glad that we got people like Brandon Upson and some of the young guys, because, I'm probably past my time now in terms of you all being a gatekeeper and to make sure that you all seek justice for our people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We got Ebony Hughes talking about, let's talk about Ted Cruz. We are going to talk about Ted Cruz in a moment.
Yes.
But first, let's give folks, if you have not been paying attention, even though it's been in the news, so people are caught up in their lives. People are trying to survive. You may not necessarily be aware of what's going on in Texas, but Texas is experiencing extreme cold. And it's not just Texas, it's other states within the Midwest, Western areas that are experiencing extreme cold. The issue with Texas is that their electric grid was not prepared.
Right.
And when it first happened, immediately Republicans started attacking green renewable energy sources, the wind turbines in particular. But once more information and more accurate information came out, what was happening is, you have to understand, for political decisions 40 years ago, 50 years ago, Texas decided, because Texas is the independent Republic of Texas, they decided they were going to have an independent electric grid from the national grid because they did not want to be regulated. And because they were not regulated, that allowed them to make, with hindsight, some very bad decisions. And not even with hindsight, they were just greedy. They were just greedy, and they were cutting costs. So they did not put winterization into the equipment. Now you have to understand this. In Texas, 20% of their energy is produced by green renewable energy, the wind turbines. 80+% is produced by oil and gas. Natural gas pipelines actually froze. So they couldn't even get the natural gas to the plants to create the electricity. And then inside the plants, equipment was freezing and breaking. So their ERCOT, their electric grid system, actually said they were a matter of minutes from a complete catastrophe when they would not have been able to pull anything back online. Within minutes, folks, because decades ago, people made decisions, are we going to cut costs to get a little bit more money, you know, and people have died because of those decisions. These are political decisions. And this is why Brandon, Donald, and Jamarr, when he can come on, we talk about politics and knowing and understand policies and issues, because this is a policy decision. This is an issue decision. And when we are not at the table when decisions are made, as Donald said, marginalized communities, Black and brown communities, usually pay the biggest price. They usually pay the biggest price. But it's folks like Brandon, who is out here through Amplify Action, who are getting people, not only getting them registered to vote, but educating them on policies and issues, which we all must do. We must get educated on policies and issues to prevent situations where people are actually dying. They're freezing to death in their homes. They're freezing
or a car.
In their car, dying from carbon monoxide or freezing to death in their car. And that is unacceptable. And someone needs to pay the price for that. Brandon, what's going on with you? What are your thoughts regarding what's going on in Texas and policies and issues?
Yeah, so it brings to life one of the things that we teach with Amplify Action when we're connecting the dots for newly participating voters, right? Even if you don't care about politics care about you, because it impacts every facet of your life. And look, one decision to separate our power grid from the rest of the country's power grid to bypass regulations is now costing people not just money, because there's an article that came out, I believe, this morning, where a guy said, my power stayed on, and now I have a $16,000 power bill, right? Energy bill, you know, but people are dying. You know, they didn't weatherize their equipment. Now, here's the thing. The power's still on in Ohio. And Ohio's weather, you know, they have wind turbines that are still functioning right now, right? There's no excuse. There's no way to put the blame on green renewable energy when we have examples across the country of green renewable energy holding up and providing energy during the harshest weather conditions, even harsher than what Texas is facing right now. There's another story about energy power facilities going black because the water it takes to keep the machines cool, the lines froze, so it shut down automatically, causing a blackout, right? You know, Texas has really done a job, and the policymakers in Texas who have held the power there for the last 3-4 decades are really showing that they put their politics and their party above the people, and they could care less right now to fix this problem, and all they want to do is point blame somewhere else. This is why we have to be intently and intensify our involvement in policy making decisions, in sounding the alarm on issues that are important to our communities, and voting, right? Because this is the only way we get them out of office. It's nice to have a seat at the table and have your voice heard, but is your voice creating policy that then change and shape laws in your community? So we need those people who can actually take our issues and impact policy and create law. And Texas is a place where we can do it. We just need to organize and mobilize our people there to get it done.
So y'all keep talking. I want y'all to talk about the national implications of this, because I'm getting out my car and I'm doing a lot of moving around.
Understood.
And I don't want people to say, well, that's just happening in Texas. It doesn't impact me. Let me give you a prime example of when people do not govern. When they've spent the last 50 years attacking government rather than running government. You can see that with the situation with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So scale up what's happening in Texas on the state level to what's happening nationally. COVID, one of the problems from day one, it was not taken seriously, and they did not run the government. They spent more time denying the seriousness of COVID. They took more time. Yeah, that's my cousin drove me. Wait. Wave. No, that's my cousin. Can you see him? Wave.
Hey, cousin.
Hey, Leroy, the quarterback.
All right. Yeah, I had to pick him up. Yeah, I picked him up from the airport. All right. I'll check you out tomorrow. All right. So they spent more time denying the problem than fixing the problem. And then when the current administration came in, there really was not. The word is infrastructure to get the vaccine distributed equitably and to many people. So they, in some ways, started from scratch. This is it's not that hard, folks, if we do the right thing. It's nuanced. Yes, it is a nuanced approach. But Donald, go ahead. Make people understand it's not just the other state. It's all of us have to be concerned about what happens in Texas, what happens in South Carolina, what happens in North Carolina, what happens in Washington and California, especially with climate change. Go ahead, Donald.
I wanted to interject on the COVID situation and the vaccines. What I found interesting was that initially what they said was that it had a disproportionate effect on people with pre-existing conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, are conditions that are certainly more prevalent within the African American community. I mean, and they were greatly concerned about that because it had a disproportionate impact in our community. But when they got the vaccine, all of a sudden, the disproportionate, the diabetes, high blood pressure, nobody's putting them at the top of the list. Notice what's going on now. Okay, all of a sudden, seems to me those people are impacted unfairly and more prevalent. That when you get the vaccine, that those are the first group that you would want to try to get vaccinated. And I say that because, you know, we have vaccinations going on right here in my hometown of Georgetown now. And the location of it is at the old high school that I attended, the Howard High School, which is the Howard Center now. So it's in the Black community. And 90% of all the people that I've seen go to that site for the vaccination are the white folks over the bridge, across the neck. Yeah, man, they vaccinating them. I'm like, man, I thought it affected us first. I mean, you know, more prevalent, you know. So, I mean, it's something that we have to be aware of, and it's something that you know that's very, very concerning, and because they also vaccinated. My cousin worked in recreation, and they gave the vaccination to all of the recreation workers, even the people who clean the floors, the janitors in the recreation department.
Wow.
And not giving it to the teachers. Does that make any sense to you?
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. And here's the thing, if I can add to what you're saying, Brother Gilliard, you know, when we talk about policy and when we talk about accountability, this is a 2-for-1 for me. Policy and accountability. We have to be able to check and correct and hold to account folks who are in policy making and decision making positions that look like us. Because if I represented a majority Black and brown community, and I find out as a representative of that community that the folks that make up the vast majority of that community who are top of the